Hey everybody, welcome to season 5 of What's IGN Crushing On. I'm Caryn Solomon and I'm your host, and we're here to talk about what's hot in pop culture. Welcome back to What's IGN Crushing On. We've had a little bit of a hiatus and we're back to talk about our favorite films, TV shows, and all other things pop culture. So I'm joined once again by my trusty friend and steed, Leanne. How are you doing, Leanne?
Steed, like horse. What do you mean?
Like you can't say the word trusty without the word steed coming afterwards.
I cannot believe you just called me a horse on a podcast.
I don't mean to imply that you're a horse, but I would if you think about what Donkey was to Shrek, like
Donkey.
They were best friends.
They were best friends. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We're getting into the last part of the year. It's my favorite time of the year, Mariah Carey time. So I'm very excited to go forth. Today we have a very interesting, exciting, lovely episode. We were joined by the director of the new film Triangle of Sadness, Ruben Östlund, as well as the star of the film, Harris Dickinson. So for those of you who don't know, Triangle of Sadness is a satirical black comedy film which was written and directed by Ruben Östlund. It's his first English film. He's made great films like The Square, and both The Square and Triangle of Sadness won the Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival. So the film stars Harris Dickinson, South African actor Charlbi Dean, Dolly De Leon, and Woody Harrelson. So let me describe the film for you. Are you ready, Leanne?
I'm ready. Tell me about it.
It was just released on Friday for those that it's not out too long, so I won't give any spoilers. The film has 3 parts. So it starts with the first section is called Carl and Yaya. And that's the main couple in the film, played by Harris Dickinson and Charlbi Dean. And you sort of get introduced to their life. So Carl and Yaya are 2 models, like huge international models. And Yaya is making big bucks as like a female fashion model, and she makes more money than him as a male model. And we sort of see like that dynamic in their relationship. And then part 2 is called The Yacht. And because Yaya is like an influencer as well, the 2 of them get this trip on this very fabulous, like super luxurious yacht with all these rich people. I mean, we sort of see their interactions with these people, like these super rich people, like this, like there's like a tech billionaire, there's this Russian oligarch, and sort of like how they interact in that world. And also in this section we get to see Woody Harrelson, who plays this kind of like Marxist, always drunk captain of the yacht. And it's a very interesting part. And then the third part of the film is, due to some things that happen, some of the passengers of the yacht get stranded on this island, and the dynamic shifts again, because even though a lot of these people have money and they sort it out, there's only one woman there, like the woman who was like the toilet manager on the yacht, who knows how to like survive. So she becomes like, so she knows how to fish and how to make a fire, so she becomes like head of the totem pole, and all of these people kind of have to listen to her in order to eat and do that kind of sort of thing. And it's just like, it's very interesting dynamics, I will say, like no spoilers, but just to see how they react. And in the interviews, we kind of get into some of this, talking about gender roles and a thing. When Ruben Östlund, when he speaks about the film, he says like going in, he wanted to explore beauty as a currency. and he talks about this more in the interview, and he want, especially with people who know they're beautiful, so like people like who are models know that they are beautiful, and they how they
Mm.
navigate the world and how they use sort of like, you know, as we would say,
Pretty
like pretty
privilege.
privilege. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty privilege. How they use pretty privilege to sort of like get ahead and to do things. And yeah, I found it really interesting, and a lot of things like will have you thinking and talking about like the themes and the characters and how they deal with things like long after the film is over. And in the interviews, we kind of discuss this. But going further, I was very excited to see Triangle of Sadness, especially after premiering Khan, because um, I've been a fan of Charlbi Dean for like yonks. So those of you who follow me on Twitter would know this, but I'm gonna um, expand a bit. But
Mm.
when she and I are around the same age, and when we were like teenagers, she was like one of the top teen models in South Africa. Like for those of you that read Wicked and 17 at the time, she was always gracing the covers. She was in all the ads. She was just everywhere. And
Mm.
she's stunningly beautiful, and just like her face was so well known. And because she's also from Cape Town, people who know people, and this one dated this one who's friends with her. So it's always like this whisper, like, oh my gosh, this one's cousin's friends, whatever. She's doing so well.
Mm.
And then I followed her career as she became like an international model, and then she started acting. And a show that I really enjoyed was Black Lightning, and she played in the excellent role of I think her name was Cypher or something like that, and she was a henchman, but it's like this beautiful, ethereal looking, sweet face girl is playing
Mm.
like the henchman of the villain in the series, and she would just like out out here just like murder people or like kill people, and it was so cool. And yeah, just watching as her career grew and grew, and Triangle of Sadness would really have been her breakout role.
Mm.
Because she was excellent in this film. She had all the nuances that went with the character, and even though the character is also a model, she kind of gave it so much. She gave the character heart. She gave the character like cunning. Like even she's in the film, she does these little reactions. So whereas Carl, who plays a boyfriend, he's a lot more like verbal, and he will say when he feels things, and she
Mm.
would like give these like facial expressions that you will laugh with or you would be like annoyed with, but she just hit it so well on hit it on the nail. What, I don't know, my
Hit the
words are
nail on
failing
the
me.
head.
Hit the nail on the head, yes, so well. So sadly, a couple of months ago, Shelby passed away of an illness. She had a lung problem with her lungs, and it was incredibly sad. She was only 32
Mm.
years old. It was right at the point where her career was taking off. And
Mm.
I mean, I know a lot of us South Africans, we were incredibly heartbroken because, she just emanated like light and loveliness. And even though I personally never met her, and I had a lot of hopes that she would one day be on the podcast, it was, I felt very affected by her death because it felt like someone I knew. And,
Mm.
so much love and light to her family and her friends and the people who actually did know her personally, because we speak about it in the interviews with both Ruben and Harris, and they talk about what a like a generous and a loving person and a team player she was with the other actors, and how they'd gotten to know her during this time, because they filmed the film during the pandemic, and it like takes place on a yacht, it takes place on an island, and it's this close knit of actors who have to like really get to know each other. And
Mm.
and they speak to how well she fitted in with the group, and just how fun she was, and it just makes it even sadder. So I'm glad. I mean, Harris speaks about this, but I also want to say, like, I'm so glad that we have this film to celebrate her with, where she got to play such a big role, and her talent, and a place for her talent truly to shine from. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for everyone to watch Triangle of Sadness and support, Shelby's final film. And yeah, I just want to, I want to leave it now to the words of the people who created the film. So firstly, this is our chat with the director, Ruben Östlund. How would you describe Triangle of Sadness?
I will describe it as two models. Model couple Carl and Yaya goes on a luxury yacht. The yacht goes under, and billionaires and models end up on a deserted island.
It's perfect. So, like when I left the cinemas, people were chatting about it a lot. So what is the conversation that you hope that people have about the film when they leave the cinema?
Well, I think that my focus as a filmmaker, when it comes to all the different scenes, all the different thematics that I'm dealing with, is to pay focus on the situation that the characters are dealing with, rather than the characters and the individuals themselves. So what I mean about that is that I think that we live in a time where we very often are trying to find the explanation of a certain kind of bad behavior through individuals, rather than looking at the system, rather than looking at the context of something, how it happens. And if you look at sociology, for an example, I think that sociology is a beautiful topic because it doesn't put blame on the individuals that are failing in the different experiments. It's actually just showing, look, in this context, you would probably react in the same way. So it's about human behavior and the knowledge about human behavior without like pointing fingers towards people. And so I hope that people that leaving the cinema, the audience that are leaving the cinema, is discussing what the different characters were handling and why they did what they did from that context.
Yeah. So I found the concept of beauty as currency like incredibly interesting, because like prior to part 3, we see Yaya use it to get what she wants. But once we get to part 3, I thought, okay, we'll see it not being used anymore, but only for Carl to start using it. So would you say that beauty is something that can be used no matter what situation we're in?
I think that the kind of beauty that is connected with reproduction and so on is, of course, something that is always going to have a value and a currency. And I was interested in, because the film was written partly during the Me Too movement, and I thought it was interesting to discuss beauty and sexuality as a currency that the person that has it is 100% aware of it. Because that is, of course, a fact. If you are a human being and if you are beautiful, you know what you are playing with, so to speak. And I thought it was interesting on the island to have a male model being aware of his looks, and in order to use it on a female powerful person to get what he wants. So it's basically shifting the roles around from the Me Too then. So I was interested when I started to work with the project because I pitched the idea for people that is born during the 70s, like I am. And I told them about, like, we have the two models, Carl and Yaya, and they are a branded couple. They are together because it's a win-win for their business and their Instagram account and so on. Then all the people that were born in the 70s, they go, oh, how horrible, but what about love? and then I pitched the film for people that was born like millennials. And I said, yeah, and then we have Carl and Yaya, and they are a branded couple. The millennials just go, okay. They don't have any illusions about that there exists something called love. It's a transaction. And I mean, so I think that, I don't know if it's the millennials and the young generation that are naive, or if it's like my generation that is, that we are the naive ones and the millennials are cynical. But I think that also, like if you look at Marxist theories, because Marx, he had a lot of interesting thoughts about how economy is changing our behavior and so on. And he said that like in a aggressive, unregulated capitalistic society, we will start to look at each other as products instead of other human beings. So, and if you look at these models, they have their Instagram account, they are their own brand, like it's basically private life and business have been blended together in a very, how to say, scary way, maybe.
So going on what you said about gender roles, like what I find interesting is that, it didn't seem unlikely. Like it's like you switched around the gender roles, like with a woman having power towards the end and that sort of thing. Like, but it still felt realistic. So I mean, how much of that was like you like trying to keep it realistic?
Oh, that was of course tough, because I think that also the actors that are playing in the movie have like a cultural expectation of themselves, what is possible and not possible. And Dolly de Leon, that is playing Abigail, that should be a person that on this island, she's the only one that knows how to fish and make fire. So she ends up in the top of the hierarchies. And all of a sudden she have this young, very beautiful man that is like is showing that he wants to have sex with her. And would she use her power position or not? Can you identify with, life is not so long, let's take a chance and let's do something about it. So it was very important to make the possibility for the actors to identify with, yes, actually I could have done it. With this setup I could have done it. And the hardest part with the island and to believe that the power structure is changing is basically the scene where Abigail have fished the octopus the first time. And she have this scene where she's handing out the fish to everybody sitting around the campfire. And then the scene where she says, on the yacht, cleaning lady, here, captain. That scene. And it demanded a lot from Abigail, Dolly, to play Abigail in a believable way.
So obviously we were very excited that, Charlbi was in the film and, big fan of her. So, what was it like working with her?
It was fantastic to work with Charlbi. She was a very generous person, and she was very caring person. She took care of her colleague actors. She gave it all. As soon as there was a shot towards the other way, not on her, she gave it all to make them perform in a good way. And that says something about a good team player. And then she was also lifting up the crew and the film workers, because we were working in a stressful period when we had the pandemic hanging over us. And I think it's important to point out also that Charlbi was completely the opposite of the Yaya character that she's playing in the film. Of course, Yaya have some human sides to the character also, but Charlbi was a very sweet and very caring person, and like the Bill scene when she's like really manipulating the character of Carl, and she did it in such a fantastic way, and I was like, could she actually play this manipulative when she is in the completely opposite way? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruben. It was lovely chatting to you. The film was amazing. I can't wait for everyone to see it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was our interview with Ruben Östlund, and this is us talking to Harris Dickinson, who plays the role of Carl in the film. So tell us more about Carl. What is it that drew you to that role?
Yeah, so Carl is he's a male model at a point in his career where it's starting to slip a little bit. He's not getting as much work, and originally in the script there was some references to his things like his hairline was receding, and he was starting to become quite insecure, and for me, I was very interested in what that meant, and he just seemed to me like quite a complex character who, didn't really have it all figured out, and that to me was interesting. He was pathetic. He was, within the scenarios that Ruben had created and written in the script, it was very clear that he was fumbling through life in a way that was, somewhat intelligent and interested in the pursuit of change and fairness and equality, but also didn't quite have the manner to deal with it correctly. So it was just, to me, it was just interesting, and he was someone who I wanted to try and tackle.
Honestly, the thing that shocked me the most about Carl was him reading Ulysses. I was like, this caught me completely off guard.
Well, it was interesting because Ruben and I spoke about the fact that there's a lot of he said that there's a lot he'd come across a lot of like young guys who read that book to seem more intelligent than they are.
Oh,
I think that's the case with there's a lot of you could arguably say that he's just reading that because he's interested, but there's something quite interesting about the performative aspect of a book and, walking up and having your book on display and showing everyone what you're reading is can be somewhat performative. And that's the same with a lot of classics, the Odyssey and Grapes of Wrath and Pride and Prejudice. And it's like, is it a book that everyone loves, or is it a rite of passage to sort of prove your intellectual worthiness?
that's an excellent point. So, there's a lot of commentary on gender roles throughout the character, from the scene at the restaurant to his eventual relationship with Abigail. So, how do you think the film makes us think about these traditional gender roles?
Well, it challenges them in a way that isn't black and white. I think that we get to have those conversations within the film that is very complex. We sort of see those switches in each of the characters. My character in particular spends the first part of the film trying to find equality within his own relationship and search for something that is anything other than normal and anything other than the archetype of male-female. And he doesn't quite find that in Yaya, but he finds it in Abigail. And I think that's interesting because he submits to the idea of using his beauty as currency, which is it could be viewed as the sort of the weak option out, but he realizes that he kind of finds that in Abigail. She provides for him and he, gives her something in return. And there is a genuine exchange of love and feeling between them. But ultimately, I think he starts to understand how people can do that and how it can work. So there's a real switch up, and in all senses, in terms of capitalism and communism within the island, there's all of these billionaires that sort of realize their wealth is useless. So yeah, it's on many different levels with each character.
So we were obviously very excited that Charlbi was in the film, and we were very saddened when she passed away. But what is it like working with her?
Yeah, Charlbi was such a powerful presence as a person, as an artist. She uplifted everyone around her, genuinely created such lightness, and it was special. I'll be forever grateful that I got to share this experience with her. We were in the trenches together on this, and we were kind of both going through the same thing, and we just we were there together doing it. So it was a beautiful experience that I'll never forget, and I'll always be grateful that I got to share it with her. And yeah, she can represent South Africa with this one. Her performance is so special, and it deserves to be seen for a long time and celebrated for a long time. She works super hard.
Thank you. So what do you hope Triangle of Sadness leaves the audience with? What feeling? Sorry, my question sounds crazy, but
No. I know that when I watched it for the second time at Toronto Film Festival with a good audience, and I think that's important, an audience that, because it's a different experience entirely watching it with an audience. It was such an experience, and it was such an invigorating, funny, thought-provoking experience that I came out uplifted. I came out stimulated. I came out you know, I came out happy, and I was, because I'd seen something special, and I think that's what I'd like the audience to come out with, a feeling of just a feeling of happiness and contentment for watching something that is fun and smart and challenging and intriguing on so many different levels. I can't, sum it up with one word or one notion, but yeah.
Okay, and finally, this is the question we ask everybody, but I just want to know, who was your first celebrity crush?
Well, when I was in college, we were studying Hitchcock quite a lot, and Kim Novak was always someone I was like, wow, so beautiful from quite a young age. So
Kim Novak, brilliant answer. Thank you so much. It was lovely meeting you, and the film is amazing. I can't wait for everyone to see it. That was our interview with Harris Dickinson. Triangle of Sadness is currently in cinemas nationwide. So don't take the kids. Maybe take your loved one or your friend. Like, it's not a kids movie. And have a hearty debate afterwards. But yeah. So Leanne, let's move on to our favorite segment of the podcast, crushing on. So what have you been crushing on?
I mean, Midnights came out, so that it's been in my head, just specifically 3 a.m. edition. I the first time I heard Midnights, I was like, oh, I don't know. I do prefer sad girl music, so Folklore and Evermore were definitely more my speed in terms of T-Swizzle. And this was obviously a return more to her pop sounding days. So I was like, I don't know. It doesn't feel, I don't know. And then I listened to 3 a.m. and I was like, okay, there are a couple more tracks on here that I kind of resonate with. But just earworms, like so much of her music is earworm music. I Bejeweled has been on a loop in my head. So Midnight's 3 a.m. currently what I'm crushing on from a music perspective. And then I don't think we've spoken about this on the podcast before. I definitely haven't, because I just started it. But Stumptown. It's not a new series. It stars Colby Smulders and I cannot believe I don't remember his real name, Nick Miller from New Girl.
Jake Johnson.
It stars Colby Smulders and Jake Johnson. And it is just not what I expected. So we're about 2 or 3 episodes in, and essentially Colby Smulders is a retired army vet and has insane training. And Jake, surprise, surprise, is at a bar, running a bar, and they're besties. And it's how she kind of ends up. I'm assuming this is where it goes, because like I said, we just started. She ends up through a series of events, just like helping out the cops or handling a case, and then kind of becomes an informal cop associate thing, detective vibes. But it is so good to see her in another like kick-ass role. I think she's just one of those people that like is drawn to very strong female character roles. And so she is like, I was not expecting the amount of action in this thing when we started watching it. And it's so good, but it's also like smart and funny and witty and like a little bit of detective stuff going on. So you're following that plot line. And then, really, really cool. If you're looking for a new series to start, I highly recommend Stumptown. It's on Showmax, I think.
I'm gonna copy you and also do a music and TV, because seeing it you did it first. But I've been really crashing on Carly Rae Jepsen's new album, The Loneliest Time.
How is it? I haven't gotten it
love it. I adore Carly Rae Jepsen. I think she is one of the greats, and her albums always have bops after bops. And this one, it's just so good for me. Like, she has I don't even know how to explain it, but she has so many good songs that have you like being like, yeah, but it's there's a song Joshua Tree, which I've like taken into my heart and it just crept so far inside of it. But also
Mm-hmm.
there's the title song, The Loneliest Time, is also a brilliant song. So I've been listening to this nonstop. Love you, Carly Rae Jepsen. If you ever want to like reach out to me, please do. Big fan. Yeah, no, I'm really I feel kind of sad for her that her album came out on the same day as Midnight because that's all everyone was talking about, Midnights. And I was like, no, but my girl Carly Rae. Um, but anyway, this was a really great pop album. And then series wise, one of my favorite shows of last year, Acapulco, is back for season 2. I spoke about it last year on the podcast as well. But
Mm.
and I honestly love this show so much. It's crept into my heart, just like Carly Rae Jepsen, and it tells the story of it's this man, and he's telling his nephew his life story, and it flashes back to the 80s when he worked in like this top resort in Acapulco, where he's from in Mexico, and a lot of the series is in Spanish, and it's a comedy, and it's really funny, and like the first season, it focused a lot on the 80s, but this season, it's kind of integrated the two timelines really, really well. And it looks like it just went a little bit further. So yeah, Acapulco season 2, it's currently on Apple TV Plus, and yeah, it's such a treat if you're looking for something to cheer you up, and also like yeah, it will give you like that nostalgic view of the 80s, but also kind of just like make you laugh. Like I laugh so much for the show, and there's like a couple to root for. There's like good family drama. It has everything that you could look for in a show, and yeah, it's very special to me. So if you haven't yet, and I just feel like not enough people watch it. So if you haven't checked out Acapulco yet, please go check it out. But yeah, that's all from us this week. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Me, you can find at Caryn Welby on Instagram, at Caryn Welbys with an S on Twitter, and sign up for my newsletter, Wildest Dreams, at wildestdreams.substack.com. The podcast can be found at Crushing On Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find us at What's IGN Crushing On YouTube, and you can find more information about this and all our other episodes on our website, crushingonpodcast.com. Send any feedback to mail@crushingonpodcast.com, and you can send us voice notes at +27 78 362 2566. Join our Facebook group, Crushing On Club, where we chat about the show, celebrity news, recommendations, the whole shebang. The show is produced by me, Caryn, as well as Rebecca Barches and Leanne Phillipson. The show is edited by Rebecca Barches. Our logo was designed by Nathifa Maroof, and the show was created in partnership with IGN Africa. If you like the show, tell everyone that you can, any way that you can. Keep up to date with episodes by subscribing to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate and review the episodes on Apple Podcasts, as it helps others to find the show. We'll be back next week with another in-depth conversation with a pop culture lover. See you then.